everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears. Let's get right down to it. Here they are, the Bulls and Bears this week. Gary B. Smith, Tracy Burns, Jonas Max Ferris, John Layfield, along with Sasha Burns. Okay, welcome to everybody. John, more than 20 fixes so far. Is it time to cut our losses and just repeal Obamacare once and for all?
Yeah, that's what anybody would do in business, and that's the problem. None of these guys have been in business. We've got one of the most unfriendly administrations to business in our history. They continue to overpromise and underdeliver on everything from you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan. We're going to have fewer people on January 1 of 2014 covered by insurance than were covered on 2013. President Obama says that millions have enrolled. 1 million has enrolled, actually. But if you count what the expanded Medicaid, which they're trying to pass on to the states, which they can't afford, there's a reason that 35 of 50 states have opted out of these government-run exchanges that are being passed down to the states. They simply can't afford it. It's time to cut our losses and actually do something about health care instead of just putting a mandate that the majority of Americans do not want.
Okay, John's pretty clear on this. Sasha, what do you think? Is it worth keeping, or should we just get rid of it? It's almost gutted already.
Well, it's not almost gutted. There are a lot of provisions that are there and that are working for a great majority of the American people. And the reality is, if we had a functioning government, then maybe delaying the individual mandate for a year might make sense. Unfortunately, when you have the political climate that we do, you don't have Congress and the administration working together, making technical corrections bills to change things that don't work. At the end of the day, it is going to be a huge success, and it is going to, I like your eyebrows, Tracy, raising up there. It's going to improve the lives of Americans. It's going to improve the healthcare system, and it is going to reduce costs. Doesn't look like it now, but it's going to happen.
Okay, Tracy, how would repealing it help or hurt our economy?
Yeah, unfortunately, we need to get back to square one with this. You know, you hate the notion of repealing it because it cost us so much to get to this point, Brenda. But we're consistently trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It's not working. And we're not going to be able to pay for this. The whole thing with the millennials carrying the weight financially is going to backfire if it hasn't started already. People are not benefiting from it when they don't have any health care, to John's point. So to wait this out for 5 years, even 10 years before we start to see benefits, Brenda, you're going to cripple the country in the process.
Gary B., if we just cut our losses, get rid of it, what do you think that would do to the economy, to the health insurance system?
I think it would be, we'd see another rise in the stock market, at least, like we saw back in the internet days. It would be a joyous occasion. It would be the Fed continuing to taper every single day. You know, Sasha made a good point, but I think she got it slightly wrong. She said if we had a functioning government, first of all, we have a functioning government. This has pretty much been totally in the side of the Democrats. Second of all, it doesn't matter if it's Democrats or Republicans. A functioning government, even if it's the greatest government in the world, doesn't do central planning that well. I mean, they do central planning, but that doesn't address what this needs at the free market. Look, this was originally supposed to solve getting more people health insurance. We're not going to achieve that goal. It was built on the platform of having the young supplement this with, premiums for the old. That's not going to happen. Look, you talked, Brenda, about 21 times to change. I thought this was the law. I thought Obama said this was the law of the land, not to mention the constitutionality of it. Look, people are totally confused. I had my policy canceled. Can I renew it? Do I get another one? At this point, Brenda, I look at this stuff every day, as everyone on this panel does. I have no idea. And if I have no idea, most of America has no idea either.
Okay, Sasha, you have an idea, though.
Well, I think that if you went back to square one, what is the square one? I mean, Republicans have gone through repeal and replace for so long, and they didn't come up with anything until, the last minute. And what is it? They won't expand Medicaid in their states. They don't care about covering their people. They care about saying, see, I told you so, it doesn't work. So until they're ready to come along for the ride, sticking with Obamacare is what's going to be the best solution.
Well, Jonas, actually, Republicans did have plans. Tort reform was a huge part of it.
Republican Mitt Romney had a pretty good health care plan for the state of Massachusetts. It actually works very well. It's similar, but there's subtle differences that maybe need to be fixed at the margins. I will say the individual mandate's the smartest thing about the plan. It was a cornerstone of the Mitt Romney plan. I don't know why that's getting pushed off. That's not the part that needs working, if anything. We talked about companies, what they would do if they made a mistake like this. So let's come back to that, because I just thought something. You know, when they launched New Coke, I think it was in the 80s, it was a bomb, right? The old Coke was better, so they had to pull it, and all the ads were in the garbage. They lost all that money because because the classic Coke was better than New Coke. Is the old healthcare system better than this? I don't think so. There was a lot of problems with that haven't been resolved that if we go back to at great cost would not go away. The pre-existing conditions, all the people using it in an emergency room as their personal place to not pay bills for doctors. So if we're not going to fix those things, then we shouldn't go back to that. Does that mean this thing's great and we just got to wait for the website to work? No, it's going to need some tweaks. There's too much in it. The government's too much of a role in the center of it, the website, but the actual mandate and getting people with pre-existing conditions on some sort of subsidized plan is not a bad idea.
Okay, John, Jonas is talking about beverages, Coke. Let's talk about hot cocoa instead. You know, the Obama administration basically says that millennials should, there they are, get in their jammies, have some hot cocoa, and talk about getting health insurance. Is that what you expect a college student to come home to and do?
If my college student came home like that, he'd be thrown out of the house in those little footy pajamas. He looks like Ralphie from Christmas Story. Who would come up with an idea like that except for some type of nanny state that says, hey, come home in your pajamas. We're going to take care of you from cradle to grave. Look, I agree with Sasha 50%. She thinks the Republicans are all terrible. I think 100%, including the Democrats, are all terrible. We have no functionality going on in Washington, D.C., but to blame the Republicans, go ahead and blame George Bush, for goodness sakes. You didn't have one Republican vote that helped pass this, and now the Democrats are blaming the Republicans for something they passed in one of those partisan manners in history. Look, this is insane. We need to cut our losses on this, figure out what we can do, and somebody come up with a plan. And Sasha's right about that. There are really no other plans going on out there, but we know this. This isn't working.
Well, Sasha, relating to the millennials, getting the millennials, the younger people to sign up is critical to the health insurance plan. Is this the way to bring them in, this kind of ad? The little onesies?
Well, the onesies. We're talking about it. So in a way, I mean, that's really the goal of advertising, right? I mean, we might be saying it's silly and stupid and anything else, but it's on air. I had never heard about Pajama Boy until I started seeing it on the news. So, you know, that's really, at the end of the day, that's what they're looking for.
But I think, Brenda, bringing that to light just insults them more and makes them want to go find a different option. I mean, there are now organizations out there of millennials telling these kids, you know what, don't pay for this. It is too expensive. Even if you get it for so-called free, it's like a $6,000 catastrophic minimum that you got to spend before you get any kind of coverage. And there are groups out there helping these kids find other options, because this Obamacare thing, really expensive, and they don't want to carry the burden of their older folks.
Okay, that's got to be the last word. Thanks, guys.